So, good afternoon, dear audience. Today, we have the privilege of having a great man, a perseverant human being who has been a long lasting general manager for about 15 or 45 years. So, we're going to discover in this conversation how was the process, how was his habits in his journey as a general manager. So, without more preambles, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Shanle, and the podcast is for you. How do you feel today?
Feel great, Manuel. How are you?
I'm awesome. The thing is, I'm always highly curious about how people respond to that question. Even though it's a simple question, how you doing or how are you? Most people vary their responses. And in your case, I've been always a witness of how inspired you are every day. Since the morning start, you always say fantastic, or maybe I'm anxious and excited to do great things today. Something always positive that comes from you. I would really love to know what is the reason of you responding that way.
It's a mindset. I think anyone that is a leader needs to be have a positive mindset, because if the leader's negative, the team will be negative. No one is going to be more excited or more driven to be successful in our business as I am. So I want to be positive for everybody. Nobody wants to be around a negative person.
Yeah, that's pretty much the idea that I love, since people might say that millionaires are millionaires or billionaires are billionaires because they have a lot of money in their pockets. But you and me, we can say that that is not true. It's the mindset that plays a huge role in here, right? And who was your role model when you were a kid? Who did you used to look up?
Well, I got my work ethic from my father, so that's what I observed as a child, is my father working hard, and so he was definitely a role model that shaped my vision of what a person's responsibility is to their job and to work hard.
I understand, sir. So, can we say that you come from a wealthy family or
No.
a hardworking philosophy family?
Hardworking. We never had money. Didn't know we were poor, but we didn't have a lot of extra money.
So that means that, however, that means that you always had a dish to eat in every breakfast or supper or dinner. You always had a meal
Yes,
on
no
your
food
table.
insecurity at all. We knew that there would be a meal, and we knew that it was made at home with love. It wasn't. We were scraping by. We had enough, but clearly not wealthy by any means.
I understand. Uh, what was the turning point event that made you change your mindset, and at what age do you think the turning point took place?
Well, I don't remember what year or exactly when it was, but I lived a life of doing a lot of partying, making a lot of poor decisions in my life, and I ended up, I was working in a hotel and was challenged with what would I do when I grow up. And at the time I said, I'll never grow up. I'm never going to stop partying, but I'm thinking about staying in the hotel business and becoming a general manager. And the individual I told that to laughed at me, and he didn't laugh at what I said, he laughed at me. And it made me decide that I needed to find out, am I a joke, or do I have a purpose? Am I going to be something that matters or not? And so that's what kind of was the turning point, the beginning of the turning point. It wasn't a complete 180 in the next day. It was a growth pattern that was spurned by that.
So you say that the people who cross your path make you change your mindset from negative, let's say poor decision you were saying, and your bad habits to positive, powerful, greatest habits, right? That's pretty good to know. Like sometimes we say we are in the work just to make money, or we are in the school just to listen to the class, and that's it. And as long as the notebook is full, everything's gonna be all right. But that the mentality that you have that go beyond the expectations, like Kalahari Resort, is like do more that you are expected to do, and you will find greatest things. That philosophy always I keep in mind when I start work. no matter if I'm frustrated, no matter if I'm exhausted or tired on my last legs or whatever it happens, my personal life should be divided with my professional life, right? And in your case, sir, you were saying that somebody judged you, somebody laughed at you, and you changed your mentality, right? But, and I would like to know, what was your first job position in Kalahari Resort?
In Kalahari, I came as the general manager. Previous to that, when I made that decision, was many years ago when I was working as a front desk agent.
Front desk agent. What do you think were the most difficult challenges that you were leading in that then?
The most difficult
The
challenges.
most difficult challenges, like maybe guest interaction or maybe inventory, logistics.
Yeah, it was a busy hotel in the Disney World area, and Epcot Center had opened a little bit before that, and we were sold out for about 6 or 8 months in advance. So every single day was a sellout, and every single day was very, very busy in a resort hotel.
So like 6 months ahead, the people already had booked the hotels, the houses, the rooms, right? So everything was full. And since that, when people were coming exhausted from a long traveling or maybe a long trip, so what were their faces? Can you describe a little bit those details?
Well, I was such a terrible employee that they made me work third shift because there were less guests around during third shift.
I understand.
So many of the people that I experienced have been traveling all day from places like Ohio or New York or New Jersey, and traveling to Orlando, arriving late, then having to find a rental car agency, drive from that area of town down to the Disney area. So it might be midnight or 1 a.m. and they'd been traveling all day with 2 screaming children, and they were stressed out and tired, and there I was at the front desk. So I got the brunt of the problems. And we were so high occupancy that there were plenty of nights where we didn't have the rooms. So we had to send them to another hotel, and you tell the family, I'm sorry, you have a reservation, but we don't have your room tonight. You're going to have to go stay somewhere else. We'll pay for it, but you can't stay here. And that's a difficult job.
Yeah, it sounds riveting that the method that you used to apply in order for you to solve problems in that situation. Like, I just remember there is a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, Will Guidara. And in that book, there is a little experience, anecdote that Will Guidara was going through. And it said, like, there was no rooms, everything was full, and he made something to solve that problem. He called any other hotel that was around his hotel, and then he found some rooms for the people who were waiting, and then he solved the problem. And do you think that mentality is approachable nowadays? Do you think it's kind of like doable nowadays in the hotels that we have here in Ohio?
Sure, it's a choice. I think in that situation, the person didn't have a reservation, so he had no obligation to help that person. But that is service beyond expectations. Is I get nothing from helping you because you're not my guest, but I'm going to help you because you're a human being that needs help, and I have the ability to help you. So that's the core of what hospitality is. Service is doing the job. Hospitality is doing it with love and care and emotion.
Yeah, there is a line that differentiates both terms, right? Let's get into the water park. There was any season, or there was an era or a time where the water park was like messed up, like without organization, without rotations, without hierarchically talking, supervisors, coordinator, manager, among other stuff.
Sure, there was definitely a time early on in this resort, but that was before gentlemen like Thatch Robertson and some of the other leadership that's currently in place. Thatch is our corporate director, but prior to that, it was unorganized, chaotic, and desperate. We desperately needed lifeguards to operate the park, and so they were more in control than the leadership was. But that, as you know, now there's a nice system in place. There's a vision of what you can do in the water park, and to become a rhino or a lead guard or supervisor, manager in training, manager and director. So there's a clear structure of and a career path that you can succeed in. And if you're putting yourself through school, you can still go through that organizational chart and get advancements to help you pay for your school or to become a doctor or whatever. But there's structure, and there is a vision of how to grow in the company.
So that was a matter of organization, it was a matter of hard working on a structure. As there's another book called, you just gave me the book, Excellent Wins, in which Horst Coles talks about an well-oiled organization in which you need to have a great equipment, a great team, great material. And all those combined perfectly are going to grow the hospitality and the success of the industry that you are into. Sounds stunning because, as you were mentioning before, the organization, administratively talking, of the water park was chaotic, right? Was like humongous mayhem. And who came up with the idea of organizing the water park with supervisors, coordinator, manager? Who came up with the idea? Was that user?
No, I think it's a team effort to get it under control, put structure in place. You have to, from a leadership standpoint, you have to start with a vision. Here's what we want to accomplish. Here's what we want. Here's what perfection would look like if we could make everything work perfectly. And then the mission is, how do you put that in motion? What steps do you take to communicate the vision and the mission to the team? And then you have to define your values. What do you stand for? What are you willing to look past, and what are you willing to not look past? What are you willing to tolerate, and what's intolerable?
So you, at the end of the day, could overcome the adversities that were coming out in the water park, right? And I mean, what about the zoo grill, the restrooms, the location of every place, of every establishment that in some way, economically talking, make the water park growth? Who came up with that design? Or how was the beginning of Kalahari when you start here, your work as a general manager?
Well, it's ever evolving. We're not afraid to say, okay, let's make this better. Many of our restaurants have been redone in my time here, and we're thinking about doing even more. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of making things better at all times, and a relentless pursuit of excellence in all that we do. So even though something may, from an outsider standpoint, look good, it seems to be working, we're making money, the guests are happy, but what can we do to make it better? And that's the goal, is to be continually on a plan of continuous improvement.
There is a book called Setting the Table, Danny Meyer, in which he says the difference between unsatisfied guest, satisfied guest, and loyal guest. Do you think most of people who come to Kalahari are from the third, or from the first, or from the second group?
Well, our goal is to make everyone an advocate, someone that will tell their friends and family about us. And to recommend to people that you care about is the vote we're looking for. Guests vote with their wallets. They spend more money with you, and they come back and spend more money. That's voting with their wallet. But they also vote with their mouth. And, just being able to use word-of-mouth advertising is the best and most inexpensive type of advertising and marketing. Is you tell your friends this is a great place to go. And friends believe friends. They're not going to believe what ad they see on TV or hear on the radio or wherever on social media. They're going to believe people they know and they think they can trust. So that's the goal.
Absolutely agree. Like, it's more trustworthy that comes from the mouth of your friend than what comes from just television, radio programs. Absolutely agree with that. And I have here a little card that you gave me the first or the second time that we met in this journey of Kalahari. And in this card, it says, the Kalahari promise. We promise to deliver products and services beyond the expectations. What do you understand by that? What do you want people to understand by that?
Value is delivery over expectations. So if your expectation is here and I deliver you more than you expected, that's a value. So value equation is that you expect something, you want to spend X amount of money on something, and I give you something that not only meets but exceeds that expectation. The challenge is every single person that you meet has a different expectation. And it's not written on the outside of the label of the person. There's no label on people. So everybody that comes in may have a different expectation. The same service given to you may be acceptable, and to another person it's just not enough. And to some, it's almost never enough. But you don't always know what the expectation is, but we try to anticipate what your needs are, meet them before you even knew you needed it. That's great service.
And it's pretty good to know that Kalahari always try to do more like the guest is expecting to. And in every way is possible, right? Like not only in the room but in the water park. I don't know, let's say from my perspective as a lifeguard, I'm working, let's say I'm rotating on the top of Chaser Storm when there are two slides, one green and one blue. People are on the line. The line is 50 guests long. So they are waiting, they are in the line, in a breaking, waiting. So me as a lifeguard, and it's not like what I'm doing is not for the money. It's more like achieving something that's gonna be trustworthy. It's gonna be valuable. It's gonna be appreciated by the guests, right? Like the guests are our family, and I would like to mention another word from this priceless card, which is Ubuntu. Here we are a family. So no matter what color we are, what race or what family or whatever we come from, we should be treated like family, right? Not only guests, the interaction workers or associates, because and that is another curiosity, because associates and employee are totally different. But I would like to talk about that in a moment. So I'm just focusing on chasing a storm. I'm in the top. So what I do is pretty much try to be more emotional, try to be more passionate what I'm doing. So I forget my problems, and I just focus on making people happy. People who are surrounding me be happy. I just noticed, by the way, sometimes families are coming with their terminal disease relatives, let's say cancer, leukemia, and those circumstances. It's super hard to smile being with that terminal disease. And I love the way in the Kalahari Promise you encourage the supervisor, the general man, the coordinator, and people who are on the staff trying to managing all the people. In terms of lifeguard, right attendant, to smile, to make the moment perpetual, eternal, gratifying for the guest. Some people might say this is something good for the guest, but it isn't. It's also good for you. Like makes you feel compassion, makes you feel more human. And I really love the way the management team work with us. And I'm highly curious about the Kalahari Promise. Like there is a meeting 10 minutes before our shift starts. Where does that come from?
As far as I know, that comes from the Ritz-Carlton standard. It's the first I've ever heard of it many, many years ago. And that 10-minute stand-up is to get everybody on the same page, talk about the day, energize, talk about who we are as a company, and highlight our brand standards and what we represent. And I believe that that is most important, that we're all on the same page. So every department has one, and then the leadership has a stand-up as well twice a day, in the morning and in the evening for the AM shift and the PM shift. All leaders gather from all departments, have a stand-up, and so it's been a tried and true philosophy of not only hospitality but other businesses as well, to have that stand-up meeting to get everybody on the same page.
Right. And there is a difference between managers and leaders, right? And you always try to clarify those conceptions among your leaders in every department. And I would really love to know what is your own conception of leadership, sir?
Leadership is influence. So leadership is not a title. You manage things and you lead people. And I think that if we look at it as the influence that we have, it doesn't matter your title. If you have influence beyond your level of authority, you are successful. So as a lifeguard, if something happens and all the other lifeguards look at you for what to do or how to respond, you have influence. You may not have the title, but you have the influence over others. And that's what leadership's all about. It isn't about a certain title. So I've always, taught that a long time ago, and always tried to make my influence exceed my level of authority. And as a leader, you also, leading others, getting someone to do the work for you better than they would do it for anybody else in the world, is an inspired leader. And once you develop the ability to lead other people to do things that work for you, that report to you, they have a relationship that they have to do what you say because you're in leadership. You have authority over them. But leadership is also about leading up and leading your boss or bosses to do or help you do what needs to be done for the business. So that's the next level of leadership.
I understand. Pretty clear. You say it. And it's been there is a little phrase that says that every human that has not purpose in this life is condemned to serve the ones that they have, the ones that does, the ones that have their purpose defined. What do you think about it?
About purpose?
Yeah,
I think it's everything. I'm not sure who, I think Mark Twain's attributed was saying the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And that's your purpose. And many people think that their job or their certain title is their purpose. But in my opinion, purpose is why you're created, why God put you on the planet, and what are you going to do with that, and what you do for work is where you live your purpose, one of the areas that you live your purpose, but purpose is why you were created, and I think we're all created for good things and great things. But not everybody digs deep enough to understand why they were created and what their purpose in life is.
Like purpose and meaning are sometimes hard to find, right? Even it could last your entire lifetime and you'll never find your purpose. So you are condemned just to work for people who have purpose. That's absolutely agree with that comment. Is it true that there was a season in which Kalahari only had 23 employees in the entire resort? Could you describe how did Kalahari operate with such a diminutive number of collaborators?
It was easy. We were closed.
It was easy.
COVID. So yes, we had to furlough almost every one of our associates.
Mm-hmm.
We had a few security officers, and we had a few maintenance people, and we had HR, and we had myself. And that was pretty much it. For 89 days we were closed, and we had 1.3 million square feet of building. And many days there was a security vehicle at the front entrance blocking the entrance, so nobody could come in because we were closed. There was nothing to do here.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody in the security office, one maintenance person going around making sure there was no problems, no water leaking or a gas leak or anything wrong with the building, and myself. And if you happen to come across another human being in the whole building, it would scare the daylights out of you because it was so big and so few people. It's a whole different place when it's closed. And we never thought we'd close the doors. We actually couldn't lock the front door because we had no keys to the front door. If we had them, nobody knew where they were because we'd never considered ever closing the doors. But it was a challenging time as a leader. It was challenging to the soul to know that we had, over 1,000 people that were feeding their families with the money that they got here, couldn't feed their families. And, as leaders and as human beings, we want to control things. That is at a core of who we are. We want to control things. And COVID caused us to understand we couldn't fix it. We couldn't control it. And, it was a scary time. And, having the responsibility of knowing these people needed to eat and nobody knew what was going to happen or where we'd get our next meal. Scary times, but through perseverance, it's a family business. And you said the word Ubuntu, that in essence means I am because we are. And, you really think about who you are and who cares for you and who you care for in times like that. And this company came together and helped people have food on the table every week with boxes of free food, and did many, many things to take care of the associates that work hard for the company. So gave an even deeper appreciation for who we are as a family. It is a family business. We're a work family, and we serve other families. So it all comes together.
Sounds pretty human coming from you. Like you can be the most successful people, the most wealthy person in the world. But no matter how much you have, if you cannot be humble and noble and be like wholehearted to provide all the people their necessities, being generous, then you're nothing, right?
Right. I mean, money is an insatiable thing. You can never have enough. If that's what your goal is, you can never have enough. You just work, and somebody's always got a little bit more. You got to have more.
All the time.
And it will never satisfy the soul. Finding your purpose satisfies the soul because that becomes something you can, in fact, do, and you can fill your heart every day with living your purpose.
When are you happy, sir? What are those moments? Can you give us a detail? For example, my happiest time nowadays is just being laid down under the shadow of a tree and just listening to the waves going back and forth. And that's it. That's my happiness. How do you find happiness? How do you feel really, really glad?
Happiness is a choice. It's not always easy, but happiness is a choice. I can think of very few things that are as good as laying under a tree listening to the waves. Maybe getting on them and riding the waves with one of my surfboards would be even happier. But happiness is a choice every day, every moment. If a tragedy happens, that's not a happy moment. You can't choose happiness, but you can choose to mourn and to be respectful. But every single day, happiness is a choice. You can choose. No one can make you happy. No one can make you sad. You have to allow that based on other people's actions or your surroundings, your environment. But happiness is a choice every single day.
And until the moment that we come to the decision to be happy, then we are going to be happy, right? Like there is no person, there is no object or some material things that you can reach in order to gain happiness. Happiness is not something that you go to the market and you just ask for happiness. And pretty much confident on how you see life. But let's go a little bit more into the comfort zone. People say that if you just stay in your comfort zone the whole time of your lifetime, then you are not growing, you are not progressing. Is that true? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think that's true. We have to push ourselves. You could lay under a tree and feel really good. But if you just lay under a tree, you're not going to feel good for very long.
Yeah, eventually.
There's two
You'll
ways
get
to the
tired.
top of the tree. One is to climb it. The other is to sit on it and wait for it to grow. It's much better to climb the tree
Even though it's risky, so you party, right?
with no risk, no reward.
No risk, no reward. I love that phrase. So, can you say how is your Herculean work every morning? Because, Mr. Shanle, for most of us, it's kind of an odyssey to find you in the early morning. You are walking around the entire water park and the convention center with in your hand sustaining a cup of tea or coffee. And I don't know if that cup of tea is full or it's empty, but all the time that we see you, you are walking around with that cup of tea or cup of coffee. Could you describe how is your early morning habit?
Sure. I get up at 5 a.m. I have a cup of coffee with my wife. We talk. That's probably the most precious time of the day for us as a couple. And I'm to work a little after 7. And I'll have a second cup of coffee.
All right.
And that's
Now
all
we know it.
That's all I have is two per day. But we'll call that a listening tour. It's a seeing tour as well. So I'm seeing things that don't seem right, seeing things that need to be fixed, safety issues, cleanliness issues, people issues. But more importantly, I'm listening. It's a listening tour. It's saying, good morning, Manuel. How are you today? And if that same spark isn't in your voice, I have to not, I've done my obligatory good morning. But did I listen to the tone of your voice today? Did I see the sparkles not in your eye today? And I can stop for a moment and say, hey, is everything okay? And you say, yeah, I just didn't sleep well last night. I have a headache. Great. No, I've got a problem in my family, or I'm hungry and I don't have any more money. Listening is huge. From a leadership standpoint, operations standpoint of the resort, we have all of the information we need to be successful. Half of it is in the heads of our guests. Half of it is in the heads of our associates. So we have to listen to both. If I just say good morning to people and say goodbye as I see them going out the door, I don't listen. I don't say, hey, how was your stay? Now, some people think that's risky because the guest may have not had a good stay and they don't want to be complained to. But if we can fix it right now and fix it well, they leave happy. They leave like a loyal customer. They want to tell us, their friends and family, we went to Kalahari, something happened, but they made it right. So all the things I need to know are in the heads of our guests or our associates. Our associates put up with a lot of stuff. They put up with things that I don't see because I don't do that job every day. There's hundreds and hundreds of jobs. I don't do them all myself. So if I don't listen, I don't find out, oh, we're short on butter knives in the restaurant. Well, nobody told me, but if I listen to the associates, they say, hey, we're short on butter knives. Every single day we run out of knives. Like, why? Let me find out why. So a listening tour, people think I'm just walking around drinking a cup of coffee every morning. But I want to get from one far into the resort to the other far into the resort at least a couple times a day. The morning shift, the afternoon shift. If I sit in the office, everything happens without my knowledge. I don't know what to fix, and I'm not listening to the team and not listening to the guests. So I don't like office time. I don't do well sitting. There's administrative tasks that I have to do for my job, but going and listening to the sounds of the associates and the guests is one of the most important things I can do.
Active listening is a great characteristic of a leader, right? And you said you need criticism in order to grow. You need constructive criticism all the time from everywhere, even from the guests, even from the associates, even from you just said in the morning, you just wake up, drink a cup of coffee with your spouse, right? And then you talk each other and you kind of add somebody to each other's life, right? That's pretty much the idea. Otherwise, if your spouse were a toxic woman, then in your overall holistic realization as a general manager, wouldn't be as successful as it's today, right? That's pretty much the idea. And finally, we know that little curiosity about your cup of coffee. in the early morning, in the afternoon, on the shift that you just said. Pretty, pretty, pretty tremendously curious to know your habits, because it's not the same habits of an international student who is coming to the ESS of the habits of, let's say, CEO of SpaceX or CEO of Tesla, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of mind blowing sometimes, because people might say, hey, they just wake up, they drink something, and they start their job. And it's not only that. How do you balance your life in terms of body exercises, in terms of food? Because I see some managers such as Travis Morgan is not eating healthily. I mean, he's not. I don't see him all the time eating fast food or whatever. I'm just saying that he's not eating in proper time. What would you say? What would be your advice? What is your habit, first of all, in terms of eating?
It's not what it should be. But I normally don't stop for lunch. I'll have typically a granola bar in the morning to
All
get
right.
started and to get my metabolism started. And then I really usually don't eat until the evening when I get home. My wife is a great cook, and she feeds me well. But as far as, being in balance in your life, the most important thing I can remember every single day is my purpose, and the fact that as far as work goes, my first job is to be a good husband and a good father, and my part-time job is to manage a resort. But the foundation is who I am as a man and as a husband and a father. So keep that in balance. It's very important. One of the most important and difficult things that we do.
So you would say, or you attribute the well-being of a father, or the definition of a father goes beyond being a general manager, right? That's
Way more important.
Way more important. Because there must be a reason to do something, like waking up every morning without an empty journey. I mean, a journey could be full of a lot of tasks, but if those tasks doesn't fulfill your purpose in life, then those are just ways without direction, right? Just go everywhere and you don't find your goal. You don't achieve your milestone, right?
You gotta know what your goal is, and every time you look at a light switch, see the light switch over there?
Oh,
Every time you look at a light switch, you think, am I on purpose or off purpose? So when you see a light switch, you think, am I on purpose? And your purpose, why you're created. But I have a work purpose as well as a personal purpose. My work purpose, which I developed a long, long time ago, is 10 words. Maximize profit while providing legendary service and helping employees grow. So if I'm at work, I need to be maximizing profit. That means making as much money on the top line, bringing as much money as we can to the bottom line. That's profit. Maximize profit, but not profit just for the owner or for me, but for you as a lifeguard and everyone in between us, everybody in the building, maximizing profit while providing legendary service. The service I provide as a resort general manager is to you as an associate, to our guests, and to the owner. And helping employees grow is just the core of who I am. I try to help people. I like to help people understand that I was a bad front desk agent, and I became a resort general manager simply because I decided to. And it's an industry that you can do that in, but to be successful, you set a goal and you work hard towards it. It doesn't matter your level of education or anything else, where you came from, how you were born, where you lived. It's a matter of determining what is success for you and what your purpose is, and you can live that out. But those, I see a light switch, I remind myself, am I on purpose here at work or at home? I've got a purpose, but it's easy to be off your purpose and distracted by things of the world that are not important.
Michael Phelps is an 18 holder of Olympic gold medals. He says in an interview that extraordinary people is separated or differentiated from ordinary people or good people, because the extraordinary ones make things when they don't want to. They don't find motivation. Basically being out of their comfort zone, right? Like pushing themselves to the limits. Do you attribute your faculty to push yourself to the limits to your family, to your work, to your relationship with your friends? How do you think you grow? How do you push yourself?
We're all shaped by where we were born, who we were born to, the environment that we were born in. And a long time ago, a basketball coach had a philosophy of MTXE, mental toughness, extra effort. And it got in my brain and it won't leave. To be mentally tough and to give extra effort are two critical things to success, in whatever success looks like to you, and it's all different. But being mentally strong, I think we'd call it emotional intelligence now, but just the mental toughness to grind it out and work hard and do more than you have to do is a key ingredient for success. And I think it's one of those things that sets apart, any great athlete like that has a discipline of hard work, way harder than the other people. There are people that are probably more naturally gifted that don't use it to their gifts to their fullest extent because they're not willing to put in the work.
What do you mean, sir, by mental strength?
Mental toughness is understanding that things are going to happen, people are going to do things, guests are going to do things that aggravate me. I'm going to say, Manuel, do this job like this, and you say, okay, and then you don't do it. Being mentally tough and not calling you names, like understanding that it's a process and that things don't always go the right way. Being able to withstand, it's easy in life to always be looking at other people and pointing out what they're not doing right, as opposed to worrying about your own self. So being mentally tough, there's a lot to it, but learning to control your emotions, understand your emotions, and being willing to be mentally tough enough to go through the hard times.
I understand. There is a book called Multiple Intelligences from Howard Gardner. In this book, Howard Gardner says that there are different ways human beings are gifted, and we have virtues. Some of them has talent in mathematics, some of them in sciences, some of them in music, some of them like in their body, how their rhythm, how they can approach the melody or the rhythm of a music, of a song. So what would you say is your intelligence that outstands among the other intelligence that you have?
I think that we're able to overcome any of those things with hard work. And I think that though I'm not gifted in music, I don't think it's out of the realm of understanding that I could figure it out if I worked hard at it. But that's not something that I've ever really understood. But I think that we're all mentally capable of figuring out about anything, that we work hard. Mathematics is very hard for me. People will say to me, oh, you're so good with math. No, I'm not really. I've learned and I've worked hard at it. I didn't work hard at it in school. But to do my job, I've learned to deal with math a lot. So I think we're all differently gifted. But I think we can also all expand on that more than we potentially do. So I haven't read that book, but it sounds like a good book.
Oh yeah, peculiarly talking, broadly speaking, you just said, and I want to cite or quote what you just said about system education, that you are not commanded or obliged to have certain amount of titles, master's degree or PhD or whatever, in order to become a leader. That's the perspective of Western America, or or your perspective, personally talking? Because in the country that I come from is Peru, and we, as third world country, we are. It's like mandatory to have a title to get a place to get a job position. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it's pretty much that. But do you consider actually that the attitude can change lives
That attitude can change lives. Absolutely.
besides the titles, besides
Yeah, I think
having or
that
not having titles?
the education is very important and should not be overlooked. But I think that it can be overcome. Some of the things you learn in school are not the way the world actually works. But you put in the hard work and put in the discipline to get that diploma. I think it's essential. It's very, very important. But I don't think it's required. There's many people that are in positions and in a point in life where they don't need that in certain jobs, and that's fine. And I think that myself, I don't have a degree. I did not get that done, but I had a goal and worked hard and put in more work learning on the job than I did in the classroom.
Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, neither have their degrees. And does that mean they were supposed to be chaotically a disaster? No, because what you just said is vital to know your purpose in life. If you know it, then everything is easy. Everything turns super straightforward. So in that manner, so you encourage people from every nationality, because this podcast is gonna be seen worldwide. You encourage people to work hard on their dreams and turn them true, right? That's the way we should see life. We sometimes might say that life is difficult. We are complaining because of the problems of everyday life, or maybe because our ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend just broke up with us. We are sad. But Tony Robbins says, if we feel so bad, so on our last legs, let's stand with the posture of a Wonder Woman. So in that way, our body is telling our brain to focus on the right side or on the positive side. Do you think that is actually true, or is it just magic or fantasy?
No, it's true.
Is it true?
It's
Do you
true.
apply that in
Everything
your
starts
habit?
with attitude. Yeah, yeah. I think we can accomplish whatever we want to with the right attitude. Yeah,
Through
definitely.
the attitude, right? Through the attitude. And that is not something that just being on a prestigious university you will acquire. It's something that is on a public free library, and that you just can take a book, read a little bit, and then you're smarter than the first time you came in the library, right? That's pretty much the idea. So everything is possible in this life. The first time I interviewed you, sir, I could notice you are surrounded by books, and I also found out that you provide books to the heads of every department. Am I wrong? When and how did that constructive obsession start?
Having no college degree, I started learning through leadership books, and I think that there's many books on my shelves that I've read that I've learned things from, and garbage in, garbage out. No good information in. You know, I wouldn't become the leader I am without relying on some books that I've read over the years, and I found that not everybody enjoys reading. Not everybody has the time, but there's different methodologies for you can get it online, or you can get education through a podcast, or you have to be careful what the source of your information, because you can be led astray. But there's some great leadership books out there that shape us as leaders, that are information you can get from people that have done it and been successful, and they may not teach it like that in a classroom setting. So it's a great place to learn from others, and you either have a long list of good books that you don't know anything about, but a couple quotes, or you've read a lot of books. So
Actually, one of my obsessions is reading.
yeah, I can tell.
Try to read one book per week, Even though I don't have the time, sometimes I just fall asleep while
Yeah.
reading the book.
Yeah.
So that's my passion, my obsession, and I actually think that that characteristic make me grow as the person that I'm now.
Yeah.
Because before, I don't know if I already mentioned you in a conversation, but I used to suffer from gambling. I used to waste my money yelling people through video games because I was upset. I couldn't control my emotions. And then appeared the book Emotional Intelligence, Davey. Don't remember the author.
Travis
Well, the
Bradbury?
thing is that it boils down that reading makes you a better human being, right?
Yeah. If you're reading the right stuff. You have to make sure you're reading the right stuff. So the books I have are books that have helped me. And so the really good ones, I will buy multiple copies and I have them on the shelf and I will loan them out. I write your name on a card and the date that I gave you what book, and I just hope that maybe you'll give it back.
Oh, I
a
didn't
lot of
know it
peop-
was borrowed, sir. I already finished. I mean, 3
No,
or
no, no.
4 weeks ago.
No, on all the books on my shelf.
Oh, okay,
I loan
okay.
them out to anyone. It doesn't have to be a department head or a leader. Anyone that comes in my office that wants to read a leadership book, I let them read my books.
Wow,
And
so
like I
humble.
said, if they bring it back, great. If they didn't bring it back, hopefully they shared it with somebody else that could learn from it, or maybe it's there on their shelf so that in 5 years they'll pick that book up and read it and get something out of it then. But so the really good ones, I buy multiple copies and I'm always willing to loan them out, and I think that they're good.
There is always a group for everybody, right?
Yeah.
There is always a group for everybody. And we were talking also, even in the bathroom, we were talking because I remember last year, because this is my second work and travel experience, last year was the first time that we met each other. And I chaotically, and that's the hilarious part of the story, we met in the bathroom. And I was washing my hands and you were washing your hands too. And I didn't realize I was next to the general manager of Kalahari Resort, which gave me goosebumps. The thing is that I ask you because I'm a highly curious person.
Yes, you
super curious. So I ask you if you have read the book Gary Chapman, Five Love Languages, in order to know what is the secret, what is the key ingredient of long-lasting relationships in marriage, let's say. Because nowadays we are hyper stimulated by let's say shortcuts on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and any other social network that just say that for a relationship to be long-lasting must be toxic or must be with unfair. I mean, nowadays the man is supposed to be like the strong one or the one who provides for the family. Why not breaking that tradition? And why not say the woman also can lead the team? I mean, the family, right? The woman could be the strong character in around their significant others. So what would be your advice for long-lasting relationships, no matter if they are fiance, or maybe spouse, or maybe in the beginning of the relationship, just being boyfriend and girlfriend? What would be your advice, sir?
My advice is don't talk to strangers in the bathroom.
I'm so sorry for that.
That's fine. No, I think, that understanding the other person, the premise of the book is we all receive love in different ways, and we feel love in different ways. And me expressing my love for my spouse, my children, or even my coworkers in a way that which I like to receive it isn't always the best way. So, understanding, it becomes part of communication, understanding that if somebody brought me chocolate every single day, I would be like, stop bringing me chocolate. I'm not feeling great about it, because although chocolate's okay, there are other people that love chocolate.
Of course.
And if you brought them chocolate every day, they would feel loved in a deep, deep way, because they see you caring for them by giving you the chocolate.
Exactly.
So I think that understanding, it all comes down to communication. The key to every relationship is communication. effectively communicating how you feel, what your expectations are, and what you desire is essential to every relationship, not only with your spouse, but with your boss and your teacher if you're in school. It's always about communication. Every relationship, your best friend, your friend's friends, it's about communication. So it all boils down to that, a good key to any relationship.
There is another book called How Influence People by How to Make Friends and Influence People. You know
Dale
that?
Carnegie?
Sorry?
Dale Carnegie?
Dale Carnegie, I guess so.
I think.
Well, actually, I having the focus now. The thing is that
We can Google it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of books. Sometimes I just lost the track of time.
Anybody listening to the podcast can just Google how to win friends and influence people.
Exactly, it's super popular. It's a bestseller actually.
It's a bestseller from like 1950 something.
Daniel Carnegie.
Dale
Yeah, you
Carnegie.
say it.
Dale Carnegie.
Exactly, that's the book. So in that book, it says that in order to have a great conversation and start growing a relationship with no matter who, you need to be a listener, be a receiver, but an active listener. But also that book, I would say that is for prisoners too, like the book of Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, and it's even prohibited in some prisons too. But let's go back to the how to make friends and influence people. It's been said that you need to talk to the person, be initiative, take the initiative. Like that is a great characteristic of a leader too, to take the initiative. Sometimes we are just walking around the water park or just saluting the guests or saluting I don't know who, but we just stop there. We don't go beyond that. We just stop there. We don't prolong the conversation, but must be like we are not going to influence people if we just say hello, goodbye. But there are limitations too in a conversation for a first meeting, right? What would you say that those are the limitations in a conversation?
Restate the question.
Sorry.
Say the question again.
So the question is basically, in a first meeting with somebody, you don't know who she or who he is. What would be the limitations? Those restrictions to take into account.
Well, I think you have to be careful about what you're talking about, where you're talking about it. If you're at home, visiting somebody, you can talk about anything. At work, you can't talk about everything. But I think the key is learning the person and getting to know them as a person. Because we're all different and we're all amazing in different ways. But if I just say hi to you every day, I never find out what an amazing, curious man you are. And that one day I'll be able to say, I knew that guy before he was president of Peru. I knew that guy when he was just a lifeguard. And I don't like just anything, but that's a disease. I'm just a lifeguard or whatever. But I may not get to know you and find out that you're just an incredible person that's on a mission to help people and to make a difference in your life. And that's pretty special. So I'm glad
Thanks for the compliment. Thanks for the compliment, sir. So there are limitations in a conversation. We need to take into account moderation, right? That's key. Moderation all the time, every time. So as you being a leader, you know a lot of background about body language. And you just say that the tone of the voice is essential when you speak to somebody for the first time in the morning, right? So how do you develop that skill? Everything is repetition, right? But beyond that, what are those details to know how a person is feeling? We are not precise. We are not machines. We are not AI. You are human beings, so we can feel how people are. But how do you approach the person? Because you're a long experienced man. You have a vast background about body language. How do you approach the person? How do you notice how he or she is feeling?
It is just that paying attention, being present, when you're talking to somebody, noticing their voice, noticing the different way they stand and if their head is up or down. And you get to know somebody. Some people are like that every day. But when you notice that something's different, it's taking action, finding out why, understanding, who people are and what's important to them. And then you can read their body language a long way away.
You haven't been always positive. Have you been pessimistic?
On things, but not life in general. So certain things I'm doubtful and pessimistic about, but overall I'm an optimist to a fault. I believe in every single person I meet. I believe that they're good, that they may have rubbed me the wrong way, but they're still a good person. And I like to believe in second chances and third chances. And I'm always optimistic about human beings as a whole, sometimes to a fault.
And treat others as Jesus said, and treat others how you would like others treat you, right?
Yeah.
All the time with that philosophy. What would you change if you could back on time?
Very little.
Why do you say so?
First, I don't know if we've lived through something and learned our lesson. I don't want to look back on it. There's plenty of things I think I could. They say Monday morning quarterbacks are very smart. They know exactly what should have been done on Sunday, and that's American football. But there's no reason to get hung up on what happened or what could have happened previously. So I have, few regrets in life. I really, I would do some things different. But there was a day in a long time ago, and it snowed. We were living in Tennessee. It didn't snow often, and it snowed, and most of the employees couldn't come to work because there was 4 inches of snow.
Oh my goodness.
In Ohio, you drive over 4 inches of snow and don't think anything about it. There, nobody knew what to do, so everybody stayed home. So I was at work, and I could have gone home and built a snowman with my children.
Snowman when your children.
Because they'd never seen snow. They were born in Florida, never seen snow. I worked that day, and I was not busy because nobody came to check in because of 4 inches of snow. So I could have gone home and played and built a snowman with my kids. At the time, I didn't know we'd ever live in another place with snow. We moved from there back to Georgia where there was no snow, and then back to Florida. It could have been the only chance ever. Now we live in Ohio, and they've seen snow. But, I regret little things like that. I tried to make most of their sporting events, and with 5 kids, there's a lot of sporting events.
You have 5 kids, sir?
Yes, and I coached every one of them. But I put those things on my calendar before my work things because I think that's more important. So I tried to be at every sporting event that they had. And like I said, I coached them. So I had to be at the practice too on some sports for a while. But I think those things are important. And so, could I have made more? I didn't make them all. Could I have made more? I have a few regrets. I mean, I could have loved my wife better, and I could have been a better father, over the years. But there's no sense in, living in the past. No one can change the past.
No.
We just have to use it to build our future and to embrace today because it's called the present because it's a present, it's a gift.
It's a present.
And we have to embrace that because tomorrow's not guaranteed to you or me or anybody else. All we have is now. So use the past to move forward to the future, but embrace the present.
Do you attribute to the books of motivation, inspirational books that you have read, to the ability that you have now to be a coach, even in your family or even in your work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's what shaped me.
Because not everybody can coach as you, sir, or maybe there are people who are better than you in coaching, right? But the thing is, do you actually believe what you are saying all the time, every time? Or maybe sometimes, from time to time, you just say it because you need to say it, but you didn't feel like you were saying that?
Well, I think we all have moments where our heart's not in it, because if you're at work or you're coaching a team and you've got something going on in your life that's really on your mind, something heavy, you may be going through the motions. It happens. But for the most part, as a leader, as a coach, or as a parent, those things are very, very close to each other. Being a parent, a coach, or a leader or manager, they're the same things with different students. Your kids are your students. You're teaching them every day. Your players are your students, and the team that is with you at work, they're your students. So those things are very much intertwined.
As a coach, how do you break negative thinking?
Well, it depends on, I think that's modeled in your behavior every day, whether you're coaching or they respond to you as a coach if they know you care about them. Same as at work. If they think you care, they will work hard for you. Athletes will do the same thing. The same thing, they're so similar. There's an athlete that doesn't, because someone else is better than them, at the moment, they think that person's always going to be better than them. They don't realize if they work hard, just like an associate that is in some position, they think everybody's better than them, smarter than them, more gifted than them. They're just not working hard enough. And you can light a fire in them that they don't know is there. I think if you do the research, do you know who Michael Jordan is?
Yeah, Michael Jordan is worldwide famous. He's already dead, unfortunately. Basketball player.
I don't think he's dead.
He's not dead for you?
So. No.
What do you say so, sir?
But I think he was cut from his high school basketball team and went on to be arguably the best basketball player ever to live. But he didn't make his, I think, freshman basketball team. Somebody got a hold of his mind, and he outworked everybody. There's people that are more gifted, taller, stronger, but nobody worked harder. Kobe Bryant, same way. There were taller people, there were stronger people, but nobody had that mentality. That mentality that I will outwork you, and I will win because I desire it deeper than you.
And with all the information that we are surrounded now, it's kind of complicated to get deep work right. There is a book called Deep Work by Cole Newport, in which he states the difference between deep work and superficial work. Deep work is is a state of 100% focus, concentration, in which you lose the track of time, space and time even, I would say. That adds value, and adds value to earth, and it's difficult to replicate. In the case of superficial work, it's just or shallow work. Yeah, he mentions that word. Shallow work is a work that can be in other words, completely opposite. It can be easily replicated, could be made. Is a job could be made being multitasking. So that doesn't add value to the earth, to the human race, right? Do you consider that you have mastered your deep work in your everyday habits?
I don't know that I've mastered much of anything, but I'm working hard towards a lot. But I think, yes, that the work that I do is fulfilling. I do my personal best every day. And I think that, I'm not curing cancer. I'm not doing things that will change the planet forever. But I'm doing my personal best as I was built to do, as I was, living my purpose.
I understand. When you were a kid, do you used to have a dream of having a super car model?
Not really.
What were those wishes that you had when you were a kid? I mean, in terms of maybe luxury things, or maybe, I don't know, maybe just a family. What were your wishes?
No, I had 3 goals as a child.
What were they?
Professional basketball player.
Professional basketball player?
Professional baseball player.
Baseball?
Professional football player.
Oh my goodness, so sport.
Football, not soccer.
Oh, football.
American football.
American football.
So
I got it.
those
I
are my
got it.
goals. I thought that I wanted to do. I didn't care which one. Mostly basketball, secondarily baseball, third. But I, to a certain degree, to a certain age, I didn't think one of those was not an option, or that one of them was an option. There were no other options. I never thought about being anything else. I just enjoyed sports and competing. So that's part of who I am as a person, is a competitor, like to do well.
Do you mean competition against yourself or competition against others?
Originally against others, because I thought I needed to prove something to everyone else or be better than other people. Once I became more mature in my thinking and read more books, I realized I was competing against myself. You're your own biggest enemy because you worry about everyone else. And nobody really cares. They saw you today in a suit and they think, Manuel's a lifeguard. Why is he in a suit? You're thinking that people are thinking about how you look. They don't really care. They may say that. They may like, what's he doing in a suit? They don't really care. They only care about their own self. And they're worried about their own self and how they're perceived. And we need to forget about how others perceive us and be true to our own self. And that is much more fulfilling. But when you're worried about other people, how they're doing their job, how they're getting ahead, how they've got a better car, a better house, a bigger house, that stuff it'll drive you crazy and give you nothing in life.
Yeah, I understand that, your point. Now, in sense of genres of movies, since you're a coach, you educate your children, what kind of genre of movie do you suggest your children to watch? In my case, for example, my father always avoids us or encourages not to watch horror movies because those are psychologically talking trauma. Those are provide us traumas. What kind of genre of movie do you suggest to your children to watch? Comedy, maybe drama, romance. Who knows?
I don't know that I've ever encouraged my children to watch any type of movie. And when they were small, a funny story, when my children were small, they were not allowed to watch Nickelodeon on TV.
On the Colombian.
Nickelodeon. Do you know Nickelodeon?
Nickelodeon. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So my wife called Nickelodeon idiot TV.
Idiot.
And the kids will never learn anything productive from Nickelodeon channel. And at some point in the early 2000s, we were approached to take the resort I was at and turn it into a Nickelodeon resort.
Really?
And so suddenly, I get to work with SpongeBob every day, and I let my children watch idiot TV,
No
SpongeBob SquarePants, and it was one of those things like, well, we have to kind of have the TV on SpongeBob so we can know more about it ourselves and our children.
There was an option.
So yeah, we had to watch SpongeBob. So it's very entertaining TV. So no, I don't know that I've ever really encouraged them until that moment. You have to watch SpongeBob. It's called homework.
Because Brian Tracy is a mentor, a coach, who says that you must be delicate with every single detail that you are consuming, no matter visually, no matter listening. You gotta be delicate, the people you talk to, because everything that you absorb is what you are gonna become. What do you think?
It's true. It's true. You have to be very careful about what you put in. You have to put in good things, because if you're mindless about what you're absorbing, especially on social media, the more you watch something, the more you show interest in something, the more of that type of thing you're served, and it can be very dangerous. Your mind can be shaped based on what you're putting in and what you believe to be true. So you have to be very careful about what you're reading, what you're looking at, where you're getting your information.
That's from the negative. I guess this is from a negative perspective, but let's go to the other side of the coin. I mean, my father always encouraged me since I were a kid to make relationship with people of every background, from every family, no matter what social status they have, even if they are, I mean, they're bitches or they're stealers or people of poor decisions. It's good to know a little bit of their field. It's because it makes you grow, makes you differentiate what is bad, what is good, what is positive, what is negative. You see, and do you consider that it is good for a kid to be surrounded by positive and negative people, or just positive?
To be exposed to it, yeah, you have to understand others to learn and grow and to appreciate who you are. But I think diversity is a key to life. You have to respect other people, no matter where they're from, how they look, how they're different from you, and we learn so much from understanding how similar we are. We're more similar than we are different. But you can look at any other person from any other place and think they're different. They're way different. And we do have a lot of differences, but we have so much in common. So, you learn from the beauty. When I was in Orlando, we had in one resort about this size, we represented 40 some nations. I can't
Oh
remember
my
how many exactly.
goodness, such a
So
variety.
nobody was from Orlando, Florida. Everybody was from all over the world. And we had wonderful people from just all walks of life. And, got the pleasure to work with and meet people just from all over the world that, their worldview was so much different than mine. But I found it so intriguing, so interesting that, the more I found out about them, the more I found out some so unique and different experiences in life that they've had and things that they'd overcome and things that I take for granted that they had to work towards. And, I think that diversity is it's a beautiful thing if you embrace it. And it could be just people from here that born in this town or whatever town you're in that have, they've been born in America, but they have totally different outlook on life and experiences. And it's a beautiful thing if you embrace it and learn from it, because there's so much to learn.
Like kind of make you more open-minded, right? Like makes you see beyond, makes you see beyond.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the idea. Now, let's go to that situation in which a manager should be fired. You told me that there was like a treatment and a special strategy that you have, a game plan that you have, in which you give the person last opportunity, and if that person succeeds the opportunity, and then he can stay in the Kalahari Resort. Other than that, or not, or otherwise, he cannot, or he or she cannot. What is that chaotic game plan that you play with your managers?
Well, it's not at all a play. It's being real.
Being real.
And, I don't think leaders fire people. I think people fire people. Because if you're not performing at your job at a high level, or an acceptable level, I have to say, Manuel, you're not doing the job correctly. Here's how it's done correctly. I want you to demonstrate it. I want you to make sure you understand, and it becomes skill or will. Do you have the skill to do it? Yes. Do you have the will to do it? If you don't have the will to do it, you're going to keep failing and keep not doing the job as you should. So if you have the ability and the skill to do it, and I tell you over and over, I have to progressively discipline you. But at some point, I have to, as a leader, if you're a management, I would want to say, hey, here's what you're doing wrong. Here's what I need you to do. Here's the time frame. I will help you in any way to get from here to here. But if you choose not to get here and don't ask for any help, on this date, I will terminate your employment. And I'll terminate your employment because you've chosen not to do the job, because I know you can do it. And I've probably told you the story of asking someone to close their eyes and envision that day, and envision signing a document terminating their employment because they chose not to perform at an acceptable level. And I've done that a number of times. Envision you and I walking towards the back door, walking down locker row, as we call it, walking towards the associate entrance, and you're walking out the door with no job. And that is a long walk, and it's an awkward walk, and it's a terrible walk when I know that the person I'm walking with had the ability to keep their job and do well, and they chose not to put forth the effort. So I like to put people in that spot and visualize if they're not doing well, there are consequences. There are absolutely consequences. Because you're paid to do a job, you need to do the job. If you don't want to do the job, find a different job. Life's too short to work in a job that you don't love.
Exactly.
You
Life is too
will-
short.
You will not find a job where you're with people that you're with people way more at work than you are probably with the people you love the most. If I work 8 or 10 hours a day, I don't get 8 or 10 hours a day awake with my wife. I get a few hours with the person I love the most in all the world. So
Yeah,
I better like
absolutely
what I'm
agree.
doing because I'm going to spend a lot of time here. Whatever your job is, you're going to spend a lot of time there. You better learn to love it. Not learn to love it. You better be in a position, learn to find a job that you do love, not just tolerate. Life is just way too short to go to a job that you hate or even that you just don't mind. Find something that fulfills your soul, and it's so much easier.
And you have that choice of being happy, right?
You do. It's a choice every day.
The choice every day. I don't wanna steal more of your priceless time, sir. Just one more question and that's it. Shayna, our psychology student and out of this world supervisor that works in the water park, told me to ask you about a Grateful Dead. Does that ring a bell?
Shayna, she rings a bell.
Yeah.
She's an amazing person.
Me too. I consider her the same way that you consider her.
Yeah. So she told you to ask me about the Grateful Dead.
Yes. Shayna, if you're looking at this, now is your time.
Good job, Shayna. So, what time is it?
4:26.
Okay, we could talk for the next 3.5 days about the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, sure. Let me just finish the podcast. I will say, I'm here because Mr. Brian Shanle exemplifies perseverance, a talent that came to Kalahari and didn't make it the first time, had to go back home and master craft, further return again, and then become the long-lasting general manager ever. I'm lucky to call you my coach, also lucky to use you as my role model. I mean it with all my heart. I mean it with so much pride, Mr. Shanley. The world is a better place because of you.
That's very kind. I certainly appreciate you and your curiosity and your determination. What is success to you? What does success look like to you in your life?
Success, aspire to inspire others.
To inspire others.
Yes.
All right. And how do you think you'll do that? What is your method of inspiring others?
Of inspire others, pretty much keep my contagious happiness up the entire day. Being determined to do the things that I want in order to inspire others, as I mentioned before. And no matter what tough situation I'm going through, I'm always going to grow if I'm out of my comfort zone. Otherwise, I won't be the person that I want to be.
And what is your degree in?
My degree, I'm studying electronic engineering in National University of Callao, a city in Peru. And by the way, sorry to interrupt you, a little parenthesis. In the next year, I'm planning to come back just if I'm going to be able to reach a position of maintenance. Because I want to learn electrical stuff in here, like circuits, models. But I got to talk to Sean. Shayna told me that this is the general manager in maintenance, right? So if it is possible, I would really love to work in maintenance here in the Kalahari Resort. Yeah.
Awesome. And your career, you want to spend it in what field?
In what field?
In electrical?
Telecommunications, optical fibers, PCB, which means design of printed circuit boards, and how to read or measure electricity from the outlets, from the extension. I pretty much know how to create system control systems, or maybe how electricity works. I mean, microscopically talking, because I'm not a person who has worked or has a lot of experience or background in different jobs as an electronic engineer, because in Peru, as I told you before, it's difficult just with a title of even not having a bachelor's degree. You are not getting a place in a job, right? That's pretty much my situation. But here in the United States, you have more opportunities. That's pretty much my background.
So you see yourself living in U.S. at some point, forever, or in Peru?
Since I came from a third world trouble, I changed my mind. My mentality is other. So I'm always able to change my decision, but not to change my goal. My goal always gonna be inspire people. And my mom was a person who educated me in that way. She's a teacher, religion teacher. My father is a guard in a residence, and both is a guard in a residence. He didn't finish his bachelor's degree in law. He's not a lawyer yet, but he wants to be a lawyer. Well, both of them always made me grow as a person, as a professional, but most of all, like a human being, like a real human being. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Great. And electrical engineering, you're working with things.
Mm-hmm. I consider myself a super adaptable person, fast thinking, and as you mentioned, a hard worker, super hard worker. If I don't have a solution for your problem, I will come up with one in a matter of days or in a matter of seconds, or in a matter. I will find a solution. I figure out how to do it. That's pretty much my mentality.
So president of Peru is not an option.
It's not enough.
It's not enough?
It's not enough. The world is too short, sir. Life is too short just to be the president and being involved in political decisions, situations. And maybe it's not the way I want to inspire people. I mean, just being a janitor in a Kalahari Resort, I can inspire more people than just being a president. I'm being more happy, But I'm like all ground person. Like, can go in a tough situation, and pretty much is more. I consider myself adaptable, versatile. Yeah.
Awesome.
I would really love to work as a maintenance, by the way.
I heard.
Yeah, even though Mr. Sean, it's well known because he doesn't employ J1 students. That would be like a little trouble, a little detail that we need to deal with. That's pretty much. Other than that, well, I'm confident in myself. Yes, sir.
I'm confident in you too.
I appreciate that so much. It's something that I'm been learning every day, that it's not what people say about you, it's how you see yourself. You define yourself as a bullshit, you're a bullshit. You define yourself as the most prestigious CEO in the world, even though you don't have your degree or your titles, man, you are a CEO now. Mark Zuckerberg didn't finish Harvard. He created, even drunk, under the effects of alcohol, the social network, which is worldwide as Facebook now, right? Everything is possible in this world. But it's a matter of reading books too. It's not just because of my father, because people surround me. It's because I decided. Willpower, willpower, and God, definitely. Everything is good, it's beautiful because of God. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
He gave us life.
Work. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, keep up the good work. Keep inspiring. And my goal is to help you in any way I can. I care about you personally and professionally, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it.
There's no words to describe how happy I am now.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, sir. The pleasure was all mine.
And if you haven't heard, it's a good day to make it a great day.
It's always a good day to make it a great day.